for a revised guidelines, which I talked about in my submission, Chair.
We seem to be still getting the same answer. Honorable Mkosa.
PS, maybe what the committee would like to know is if the provincial administration had sight of the youth empowerment program guidelines of 2020. Did they have any sight of the guidelines for the youth empowerment program for 2020?
Thank you. Is there any other question, honorable members? PS, you can proceed and answer that question.
Chair, I wish to get your guidance if at all my members can, especially those that have been dealing with this issue right from the beginning, if they can come in to help at some point.
Of course, PS, that's why you've come with them. You've come with them to help you. So as and when you can reassign the question to people can answer. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Mwaza.
Thank you very much.
Yes, you can proceed.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much, PS. On the issue of insurance, if you look into the guidelines, it's written, even in the agreement form, it is written that the borrower must insure the loan. Because as the implementing agents, I understand what the Honorable MP said, that the loan must be insured, but it's written that the borrower must insure the loan. At what point was the borrower going to insure the loan? Because as when we are implementing...
Point of order, Chair. Chair, what do we believe now here? We are a committee. The principal officer is saying no guidelines, they didn't stipulate what something to do with insurance. You are saying in the forms it was there. So what is the position? We take yours or we take that of the PS?
You can answer that question. Sorry, you can through your controlling officer. I think the one on the floor. I don't know if you're a principal officer. Yes.
The committee is saying, the controlling officer said there were no requirement for insurance, and then the other officer is saying there was a guide to that effect. Only that it's the borrower that was supposed to insure the loan. And at what stage he would want the committee to state at what stage the loan was supposed to be secured. Is it in order, Mr. Chairperson, to mislead the committee?
Thank you, Honorable Mfarari. Is it the same?
Not really. Just an advice, I think, to the Lusaka province. Lusaka province, when you come before a committee like this one, I think you needed to brief, for you who were there handling these matters, you brief your principal officer or the controlling officer of what was happening. Because these are some of the questions you expect to be asked. You should have briefed him. Now you are contradicting each other here in front of cameras, and it doesn't augur well. So I think the best is you should have briefed. If you have not briefed I think you brief him on this report so that you are in tandem with what you are talking about. And like the PS, the controlling officer, saying there was no guidelines given, you are saying actually the guidelines were on the form that the loan must be insured. So I think you should have briefed him, or you sit next to him so that you can, not what we are seeing here. This is quite embarrassing.
Thank you, Honorable Mfarari. Before Honorable Mkosa comes in, PS, we want you to, you are the controlling officer of the ministry. And we do believe even before you appear before this committee, you'll have caucused or had a meeting with your members of staff on the position and things like that. That now what we are having, you tell us a different position, your officer is telling us something else. Then now we're having problems to comprehend now which is which. Maybe can you clarify that before the committee so that we have an actual position?
Yes, Chair. Thank you so much. You know, like I said earlier, even in my submission, I did indicate that there were several times. In fact, the first guidelines that came to us, they were not even very clear on how we are going to give out this money. But as time went on, they kept on changing time and again. But during my submission, I did indicate that youth empowerment guidelines of 2020 provides for the loan to be comprehensively insured by the borrower. I think I said this during my submission. And I said during the period from August to December 2021, the provincial administration approved and dispersed the 3 million to 29 youth groups in 7 districts. And I did mention in my submission that contrary to the guidelines, the loans dispersed were not insured by the borrowers.
PS, maybe just before we proceed, now I think I'm also getting lost. Earlier you said that you didn't have sight, the guidelines you had, they didn't require the loan to be insured. Okay? Then Honorable Mkosa asked, did you have sight of the guidelines for 2020? Now you are telling me you had those guidelines, you had them, but they stipulated that the borrower had to insure the loan. So which other guidelines did you have prior to that when you dispersed the money, before you came to get the 2020? Because now that's where we're trying to get the what is a cutoff? Because now I'm not understanding. When you disperse the 3 million, is it that's when you had the 2020 and the recipients were supposed to insure the money, or when didn't you have those guidelines so that there was no insurance per se? Or how many sets of guidelines did you have to that effect concerning the same 3 million kwacha? Maybe just clarify on that. Maybe Honorable Daka wanted to say something.
Yes, Chair. That's what has motivated the question that we asked him, that why did they go ahead to disburse these monies without ensuring that the security was part of the document that was submitted to them? That's what has motivated the question, which they are failing to respond to properly. I submit, Chairperson.
Thank you. PS, clarify. You can proceed.
Chairperson, actually, this is the reason why now my provincial coordinator was coming in to explain, although he was cut short. Maybe allow me to ask him to now finish what he was trying to say.
Your principal officer has now basically started misleading us. That's why we had to, there was a point of order, because what you submitted and what he submitted, the parallel, and then now we're having problems. Maybe with your indulgence, yes, Honorable Mfarad.
Controlling officer, you have a submission that you have made before this committee. Stick to your submission. Don't start moving away from your submission. The submission is very clear. I don't know who was giving these responses for you to come and appear. Your submission, corrective measure, this is, despite the guidelines stating that the borrower should insure the loan, the Minister of Youth, Sports and should have keen interest to insure the loan. So we don't know what kind of an answer that is. You are putting the blame to the ministry. You are the people who are disbursing, whether it's at a district or not. And even this answer, it's vague, it's ambiguous. It doesn't speak to what is being queried by the Auditor General. So if you had the guidelines, you should have just said there was an omission. Like you are saying now, say there was an omission. Just stick to say there was an omission. So don't start going all over.
Yes, Honorable Mkosa.
Then the other thing is that, controlling officer, I think you have the principal officer, or what's the title? Principal youth officer? Provincial youth officer?
Is a provincial youth coordinator.
Provincial youth coordinator who is misleading you. He doesn't understand what he's supposed to be doing. You see, it's like you are if someone is working for Minister of Lands, then he gives land, the council gives land without charging, then they say that no, this person is supposed to pay at the Minister of Lands, when that person is the one who is facilitating on behalf of Minister of Lands. The provincial office was facilitating on behalf of the Minister of Youth, isn't it so? They were facilitating on behalf of the Minister of Youth. So you are supposed to follow each and everything that was stipulated in the guidelines. So you are dealing with an officer who is misleading you, who doesn't know his responsibility and what he's supposed to do. How can he come here and start asking us that at what point were they supposed to insure the loan? When you were playing your role in agreeing that yes, the money should be disbursed, why didn't you ask yourself that question? Why didn't you ask yourself that question that, oh, even though we are disbursing this, the money is not insured? Why? Why did you neglect your duty to ensure that the money is insured at that point? And if you had any questions, why didn't you raise alarm? Because it's your responsibility. That's why the government pays you. That's why the Zambian people pay you. That's why they pay you.
Thank you. Before he comes in, Honorable Daka.
Yes, Chair. Just to ride on Honorable Mkosa's question, the officer on the floor of the House is out of order, Mr. Chairperson, to ask the committee, because as far as I'm concerned, or on behalf of the committee, the insurance was supposed to be submitted prior to the disbursement of the loan, because it was a requirement. How did you go ahead and disburse without ensuring that the loan was secured, or the loans were secured? This is what the committee is laboring to get from yourselves. Why did you go ahead to disburse the loans without ensuring that the guideline which borders on insurance was adhered to? I submit, Chairperson.
Thank you. The Provincial Principal Officer, Youth Coordinator, please answer.
Chair, I think I need to apologize. I was cut short before I could just put everything into context. I must say that, again, as the Provincial Youth Development Coordinator, I just took over office last year from my colleague who passed on. So, yes. But now to answer the question for the line of insurance of
the Provincial Youth Coordinator, what is that got to do with this committee if you just took over office? The documentations are not there?
No, the documentations are there.
So just state your point and give us the answer, not those things. We don't need them now. For people who are sitting in those offices, we don't need, even if it's PA, don't need that. You are in the office, you've taken over. You've gotten the documentation, the handovers. If there are no handovers, you've read what's there. You proceed. So you can proceed and answer the question. You can proceed.
Yes. As a coordinator, the time that we were dispersing the funds, yes, we looked at the documents, and even in the agreement, it was well written that the borrower must insure the loans. Yeah, so when we looked at what was pertaining on the ground, and we needed to pay out the loans, what we did was what we did.
I'm failing to understand now. You needed to pay the loans, and what was pertaining on the ground? Why did you need to pay the loans minus following that the insurance probably was provided by the borrowers? You just needed to pay them the money.
No,
Is that what you're saying?
No.
What was obtaining on the ground? Can you state?
The youths themselves, the cooperatives. Yeah, because they are the ones who are... The cooperatives, they are the ones who are supposed to insure the loans. So what we did, we wrote to them to say, these loans, you must insure them, because it's written in the agreement that the loans must be insured. So we sent the letters to them to insure the loans, because we felt that at that point, when they were getting the money, they were supposed to insure the loan according to the guidelines. So we wrote to them to insure the loans.
Yes, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Provincial officer, where is the proof of your communication to the youths on the ground for them to insure their loans?
It's in the
Honorable Duck.
in the document.
Auditor General, were those letters provided as evidence to that effect?
Thank you very much, Chair. Let me just cross-check with my colleague
Okay, thank you. Honorable Mkumbi, or you can, okay, you can proceed before Honorable Mkumbi comes in. Or Honorable Mkumbi is a follow-up? Okay, proceed, Honorable Mkumbi. You can switch off the mic, the principal officer at the moment. Honorable Mkumbi, proceed.
Chair, I want to help the controlling officer here. Honorable Mufarari was on point when he said, stick to your submission. Your response on this query is as follows. The Auditor General's observation is noted. Management wishes to regret that the loans were not insured at the time. Stick to that. It's as easy as that. You have already given a response. You regret. That was not done. We could have moved on, Chair, had they done that. But now you're taking us verse, gear, that. Your response is very categorical there. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, AG.
Thank you, Chair. I've cross-checked, and we don't seem to have been given the documentation pertaining to the reminder. But the key issue is that the loans were not insured. What the management at the provincial administration now was trying to do is trying to correct the anomaly. So they neglected this function. Whether the loans, the guidelines were coming from Minister of Youth and Sports or not, they have a delegated function. And they are the last line in defense because the money now is moving to the private hands. At that point, they should have ensured that everything that needed to be put in place before the loans are dispersed are done. Because there could have been omissions at the Minister of Youth. So how do you make sure that now you protect government resources? So it's an omission. Yes, letters were written, but we don't, the situation is still there on the ground that the loans are not yet insured. I think I submit.
Thank you, AG. The principal officer, don't come here and start misleading us. We were told earlier, then you start telling us you wrote letters, and then I'm seeing letters here in your submission signed by your PS, which now are firefighting, which have been an afterthought. These are the letters for November. Don't come before this committee and start misleading us. The thing you should understand, even as you sit there, that some of the honorable members here who've sat in those offices, who've worked in the government, we know how the system works. But don't come here and start misleading us. Give us what you submitted, stick to your submission, and tell us what's on the ground. If you failed, tell us you failed. Tell us you didn't do this, and we proceed. But if you start misleading this committee, I think, are you appearing here for the first time? Because I think you came even last. Did you come last year under the same ministry? But I've seen your face here. You've come before this committee, but maybe another ministry. Yes. Which ministry are you coming from?
I'm under Youth and Sport. I was with Labour, so it's
yes, yes. No, I think you came here before, and so please don't mislead us. Can you answer why and tell us, PS? And PS yourself as well, you started now, they are letting you write these letters to just now try and correct it. It's not, this is not correct. When Auditor General brings out, answer the queries. If there were certain issues, just stick to them. We said this to another PS yesterday who brought us a letter for 7th November. Then he was here appearing on the 8th of November. It's not correct. It's not correct. Let's not, we are dealing with public resources here. This is money for the Zambian people, and that's why we're here. With you officers who are conferred with this privilege, you need to take this thing seriously. So, PS, can we have an answer, then we proceed?
Chair, thank you so much, and thank you for your guidance. I mean, truly speaking, like guided by Honorable Mulusa, I presume. I think at a time when we're giving out these loans, yes.
Sorry, Honorable Mkumbi. There's no Honorable.
Apologies, Honorable Mkumbi. Yes, as guided, I think at a time when this money was being dispersed, this thing was, the insurance part was overlooked. And this is how come when we sat down now, we started looking at how do we correct the situation. That's how I came up with, we came up with this response, where we regretted the fact that loans were not insured by the borrower at the time of disbursement. And as a provincial administration, what we did is we engaged the beneficiary youth groups, knowing that at a time when we're giving out this money, it was completely neglected, as said by one of the members, admittedly.
Yes, Honorable Mufarari.
Thank you. Your letter is dated 1st November 2021. Why didn't you avail these letters to the Auditor General's office at the time of the audit?
PS, I think I think if I got him correct, he's saying now after they were trying to correct, that's when they started now writing to the beneficiaries, if I got him correct. But PS, you can proceed.
As per procedure, we are supposed to copy the Auditor General's office, and I'm actually also getting surprised why we didn't do that. Because after we sat down and we were supposed to copy all of them, I'm really wondering why we didn't do that.
Yes, Honorable.
Controlling officer, this money, at which stage was it being disbursed? At the district or at the province itself? If it was at the province, Director Finance, why didn't you avail the necessary requirement, or I mean letters, to prove that you're actually doing something? So this query could have not come before us here. Why didn't you avail those letters?
Thank you. Through the PS, is Director Finance here?
She's here, but I think the accountant, she's the one who was dealing with this
Well, who's the Director of Finance?
She's acting. The Director of Finance is unwell.
Okay.
So she's acting Director of Finance. But the accountant who is responsible is Madam Lillian here.
Okay, so Madam, can you take a chair? Maybe, sir, there can be excused for a second. Madam, sit there. Through your PS, I think you did hear the question from Honorable Mfarari. You can proceed and answer. You can state your name and your position, then you can answer the question.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Lillian Muluwa. I'm the accountant who was dealing with these queries at the time of the audit. The time the anomaly was noticed and the letters were written to the beneficiaries to correct the anomaly, that time the audit has already been closed because we had two different sets of auditors. The first group that came to audit us over this same issue had gone at a stage of preliminary stage. And from that time, they never came back to provincial admin to come and continue with the audit process. The whole audit process was full of gaps because at preliminary stage, after we responded to the queries, the auditors never came back to come and verify our responses. We waited for them until they had to issue a query through the ministry. When the ministry wrote to us, we responded, and they made a copy to Auditor General. A follow-up wasn't made. So there were all these gaps, and that's what led to a stage whereby the letter wasn't made available to the Office of the Auditor General because we expected them to come so that we can unveil the anomaly that we intended to correct. I submit, Chair.
Madam, I hope what you are stating is correct to the best of your knowledge, because we do understand the audit process, but I'll ask Auditor General to respond.
Chair, thank you very much. I think the officer must be very careful the way she's answering questions. It's misleading, and she's putting the office in the mud. This is very misleading. The officer and the provincial administration office is not too far from the office. If at all there was any anomaly in the audit process, why didn't they come to the office and complain to the senior officers, as opposed to bringing preliminary things to your house, to this committee, which are not supposed to be discussed here? So we are so surprised that a big complaint like that is coming here, but as an office we are not aware about it. Is it a way of running away from giving the appropriate answers? So it's very disappointing, actually.
Yes, Honorable Mkosa. You can switch off the mic, Madam Accountant.
Thank you, Chair. Just to add on what the Deputy AG has said, the officer there is saying the auditors from the Office of the Auditor General, they never went back. Look, those people already identified the problems. Was it their responsibility to come back? Because they already told you what the issues were. And obviously you knew, unless you say you have never been audited before. But if for someone who has been audited before and someone who calls himself or herself an accountant, should know that that issue is not going to die a natural death. It's just a matter of time before it is reported in the Auditor General's report. So why did you wait for them to come back instead of you going to verify with them or to show them what you needed to show them so that the issue is resolved? Because some of these issues, the standard procedure is that if the Auditor General, they see that what you are saying is making sense, they don't report those issues. Even them, they want to reduce the workload. So how can you say they never came back? They have a lot of things to do and they are understaffed also. They have a lot of places where they have to do audit work. Why didn't you or your colleagues, why didn't you go to show them? Like the Auditor General is saying, his office is very near to where your provincial administration office is. Why did you neglect your duty to make sure that that issue is reported or is shown to the Office of the Auditor General? Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you. Madam Accountant. That's why when you made your submission, I said, I hope you are telling us that from the best of your knowledge. I think we don't want lame excuses because we do understand the audit process. And as and when they did their assignment, probably they also gave you the management letter. You are given time frame to respond and give evidence for them to take out certain issues. Then the rest, which you failed to answer, they are upgraded now in the main report. Now you come here, you start telling us, no, they went and they didn't come back. I think don't do that. Don't say that. You need to withdraw that statement. You should be accountable. You did not follow procedure, and you went to pay. Your principal youth officer is saying what was obtaining on the ground. Was there pressure from someone? Oh, because I don't understand what was obtaining on the ground for you to pay money without insurance. You have money in your account. No one is forcing you to pay. And you are told the borrower should give insurance, but you go ahead and pay without insurance. I don't understand. So, madam, I want you to explain. Don't tell us those lame excuses. We are not interested. We want you to tell us what transpired. Why did you pay minus getting insurance from the beneficiaries? Then after that, now you start writing letters now to say you need to provide insurance. When you've already committed, you've already paid. These letters which are here, the letters you even made your PS sign for November, when the report has already come to even been tabled already, then you are saying we are reminding you. It's an afterthought. That this is public money. We don't want that laissez-faire thing of doing things. No, we'll pay, we'll go and explain. No. Can you tell us what transpired? Why, as an accountant responsible, you went ahead to pay? Let's not look at the Auditor General, not you providing the letters, but why did you pay minus insurance? That's what we want you to answer. So can you proceed, Madam Accountant, and answer that question?
Thank you, Chair. I withdraw my statement to the statement that I gave regarding the Office of the Auditor General. However, sir, when we were responding to the queries, because like our PS has submitted, we regret to have this omission during the submission, the disbursement of the loans to the youth groups. However, during the audit, when these issues were highlighted by the Office of the Auditor General, that was because our first preliminary was in October, like I submitted. They had highlighted this issue, and basing on that, we wrote to the youth groups.
Sorry, can she be a bit, which October?
October 2021. Okay. Because the audit was closed in December 2020, October 2022. 2021, I beg your pardon, sorry. It was closed in October 2021. And that was the very time this issue was identified. And quickly we admitted to the error, and we had to write to the beneficiaries to correct the error which we had omitted. However, I stand to be reminded on the other query which you addressed to me.
Thank you, Chair. The other query, since she's the accountant, I asked at which stage were you disbursing these monies? At the office, provincial office, or at the district? I'm asking you that because you are saying that there is no monitoring, districts benefited, and so, and then you are writing direct to the beneficiaries yourselves as the province. So I'm like, at what stage did the money get to the district? Were you paying direct to the beneficiaries at the district, or the districts were picking from you to go and pay the beneficiaries? I think that was the query, the question that I had posed. The other question I had posed was the monies that were kept on moving from year to year. 2020, you moved 3 million, whether it's 3 million, if I'm not, yeah, about 3.1 million. The following year, you kept 3.1 in 2020. In 2021, you still kept 2.1. So I was asking, say, did you have Treasury Authority to maintain or keep these monies at your office? That's the other question that has not been answered up to now.
Thank you, Chair.
Oh.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. You can proceed, or you want PS to come in? Okay, before you proceed, PS wants to say something. PS, you can proceed.
Chairperson and members of PAC, I must admit the fact that the first guidelines that came from Ministry of Youth and Sport, honestly speaking, there were a lot of gaps. And as to why, like one question that came, why we gave out the money, I don't know whether I would say it was under pressure and the like. But what I want to say is that the first guidelines that we got, there were a lot of gaps. This is the more reason why, when we were giving out the second phase, we delayed because we wanted a revision of the first one that we had. And the money pertaining the question from the honorable member, they carry forward monies in the general deposit, and we don't get fresh authority from the Treasury. So the first amount of the money that we received, the guidelines, I think there were a lot of gaps. And we are here to admittedly saying that there were a lot of gaps. This is the reason why, even in our responses, we are saying that we are trying to see if we can correct the situation that happened during the time when we gave out the first monies for the empowerment, the youth empowerment.
Thank you so much. PS, I'll just ask you to leave us for 5 minutes. Then we just have a discussion with the committee. Then we'll call you. You can just excuse us for 5 minutes. Thank you.
The Criminal Procedure Code Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 24 of 2022, and the Penal Code Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 25 of 2022, were presented for the first reading in Parliament on Friday, 22nd October 2022, and were consequently referred to the Committee on Legal Affairs, Human Rights and Governance. The main object of the bills is to replace the penalty of death with life imprisonment and repeal the penalty of defamation of the President. In view of the fact that the proposed amendments generate matters of public interest, members of the public, civil society organizations, and faith-based organizations are being invited to give written and oral submissions on the bills to the committee, which is scheduled to sit from 14th to 23rd November 2022 at Parliament buildings. For further details, please contact the National Assembly of Zambia on 0211 292425 to 36 or email info@parliament.gov.zm.
little brother, big sis, grandpa, and grandma. Everyone's going to be smiling when you upgrade to DSTV Family, because there's something for everyone, like unmissable, must-watch international series.
Why is he in here?
Fascinating documentaries, real-life crime and medical dramas, as well as the hottest lifestyle programming.
I'm earning some cool husband points here.
The best of Bollywood, including blockbuster movies and award-winning telenovelas.
So much love in the air.
Authentic local stories celebrating the heroes, communities, and traditions of Africa.
That's so good, Andy.
And of course, fantastic European football action with La Liga and Serie A.
Lukaku!
And to make you smile even more, you get this family-sized entertainment for a lot less than you think. So, upgrade to DSTV Family today using the My DSTV app and keep everyone you love happy.
Basically, I'm a villager from Monze, the eastern side of Monze district. This is my second term as a member of parliament, serving the good people of Momba constituency. I'm a married man, obviously with one wife, and I have 4 children. In terms of my education, it's important. The primary school I attended at Gasaga Primary School in Monze, in my constituency. And after that, I've gone to different institutions. The last one being I did an MBA, and my specialty basically has been in business management. I specialize in that. But I must mention also that I've learned quite a lot. Being a villager, as I said, whereby I remember I've gone to school. I spent the whole of my primary school, in fact, without putting on shoes until I was in grade 7. And not because my father could not afford, we had a lot of animals. But I think basically, culturally, those were things which we were not paying attention to. So I've been in this parliament. This is now my 6th year as a member of parliament. And I think history has it to that. So far, I think so good in terms of what I've done for the people of Momba constituency. So Momba constituency is the purely rural constituency. Eastern side of Monze district. In fact, let me say just from the northwestern all the way to the eastern side of Monze district. My neighbors are Bwenga constituency, Monze Central, Magoye, and Gwembe. So predominantly rural constituency. My people are mainly in agriculture. We do rear animals and farming. We play a key role in feeding Monze district and other parts of the country. In terms of the population, we should be standing around, I think, 40,000 now. As you are aware, we are going to do another census in this year, in fact, in August. So that I think will give us the good numbers. I must mention that also in terms of the geography, my constituency is peculiar in that I have 5 wards. Out of the 5 wards, 2 wards are in the valley because, as I indicated, I share the boundary with Gwembe. Gwembe predominantly is a valley, and then the other 3 districts, wards are also in a plateau setup. So, because of that kind of differentiation, even in terms of the terrain, what you need to do here and there differs quite a lot. So that is the coverage. You may be interested that immediately you leave Magoye River, there about after the Magoye Bridge, all that is in my constituency. So the Great North Road coming to Lusaka from Monze, I cover part of the western side of the road, and very near, very close to Monze district, Monze town per se. We are talking about just 3 kilometers from Monze town. Then my constituency begins. But surprisingly so, you may be aware that Momba constituency is one of the smallest constituencies in Monze, in fact in southern province. It's one of the smallest, but terrain-wise is challenging to access some places.
And welcome back with your team. PS, we deliberated as a committee, and our conclusion is that you need to go back and look at these issues, bring the necessary documentation to that effect. If anything, also bring those desk officers from the Ministry of Youth who were also in charge, particularly maybe to your province, in terms of disbursement and whatever relevant issues which are needed. Then Secretariat to advise you when you need to come back and do the resubmission. Then we'll call you. Then you can come now and appear before this committee. But let me take this opportunity to thank you for your time being here, and also let me now take this opportunity to lift the immunity which was conferred before you under Cap 12 of the laws of Zambia, that now you are free. Thank you so much.
Obliged, Chair. Thank you so much.
I have agreed with the Zamanis that you